Daniel was a good man. He loved God very much. Daniel prayed to God every day. He talked to God in the morning, at night, and all throughout the day.
Daniel worked for the king. He was a helper to the king. He followed all of the king's rules. Daniel was also very brave. He was never afraid to do what was right. Everyone knew Daniel loved God. Some men did not like Daniel. They were envious of his wisdom and the favor he had with the king. Daniel was known for his integrity and his unwavering faith, which made him stand out among the others. This caused a deep-seated resentment in the hearts of some men who were close to the king. They were jealous of him. They couldn't stand to see him succeed and be honored. Their jealousy grew each day as they saw Daniel's influence and the respect he commanded. They felt overshadowed by his presence and sought a way to bring him down. They wanted to hurt Daniel. They devised a cunning plan to trap him. They knew that the only way to get to Daniel was through his faith. They spent days and nights plotting, trying to find a way to use his devotion against him. These men saw Daniel pray. They observed his routine and knew that he prayed 3 times a day without fail. His commitment to his God was unwavering, and they decided to exploit this. They knew Daniel only prayed to his God. This was the key to their plan. They needed to create a situation where Daniel's faith would be seen as a crime. They watched him closely, waiting for the right moment to strike.
For the next 30 days, everyone can only pray to you, king. They proposed this decree, knowing that Daniel would never comply. They flattered the king, appealing to his vanity and desire for absolute loyalty.
The men tricked the king. They made it seem like a harmless decree, one that would unify the kingdom under the king's authority. But their true intention was to trap Daniel. They asked the king to make a new rule. They presented it as a way to honor the king and ensure loyalty from all his subjects. The king, unaware of their malicious intent, listened to their proposal. The king did not know their plan. He was puzzled at first, but was eventually convinced by their arguments. They assured him that this decree would strengthen his rule and bring the people closer to him. He thought it was a good idea. The king, flattered by their words and eager to consolidate his power, agreed to their proposal. He believed it would be beneficial for his reign. He made it a law. The decree was signed and proclaimed throughout the kingdom. Little did the king know this new law was a trap set for Daniel, a trap that would test his faith and loyalty to his God. The king liked Daniel. Daniel was not just an advisor, he was a trusted friend and confidant. The king often sought Daniel's counsel on matters of great importance, and Daniel's wisdom had never failed him. The bond they shared was one of mutual respect and admiration. He made Daniel a promise. This promise was not made lightly. It was a vow that came from the depths of his heart. The king valued loyalty above all else, and Daniel had proven his loyalty time and time again.
I will keep you safe. These words were spoken with conviction and sincerity. The king wanted Daniel to know that he would always have his protection, no matter the circumstances.
But the king did not know about the new law. This law had been crafted in secrecy, designed to trap Daniel. It was a law that forbade anyone from praying to any god or man other than the king himself for 30 days. The jealous men told the king. These men were envious of Daniel's favor with the king and sought to bring him down. They saw the new law as the perfect opportunity to achieve their goal.
Daniel is breaking your law, they exclaimed with urgency, hoping to incite the king's wrath. They knew that the king was bound by his own decree and that he would have no choice but to punish Daniel. He prays to his God, not you. They continued, emphasizing Daniel's defiance. Daniel's faith was unwavering, and he continued to pray to his God despite the new law.
The king was very sad. He was torn between his love for Daniel and his duty to uphold the law. The weight of his responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. He liked Daniel, but he had to follow his law. The king's heart ached as he realized the gravity of the situation. He knew that if he did not enforce the law, his authority would be undermined. The law said Daniel must go into the lion's den. This was the punishment for anyone who defied the decree. The king shuddered at the thought of his dear friend facing such a fate. The king did not want to do it, but he had no choice. His heart was heavy with sorrow as he gave the order. He could only hope that somehow Daniel's faith would protect him from the lions. The lion's den was a scary place. It was a place where no one dared to go, a place filled with darkness and fear. The entrance itself was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. The shadows danced on the walls, creating eerie shapes that seemed to come alive in the dim light. Big, hungry lions lived there. These were not just any lions, they were fierce and powerful, with eyes that glowed in the dark. Their roars echoed through the cave, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked within. They were the kings of this dark domain, and they ruled it with an iron paw.
I was scared, but I knew God was with me. Even in the face of such terrifying creatures, I felt a sense of peace. I remembered the stories of old, of how God had protected his people in times of trouble. I held on to that faith, believing that he would protect me too.
He prayed to God, thanking him for his love. In the midst of the darkness, his faith shone like a beacon. He knew that no matter what happened, God's love would never leave him. His prayers were filled with gratitude, a testament to his unwavering belief.
Thank you, God, for your love. Your love is my strength, my shield, and my refuge. In this moment of fear, I find comfort in your presence. I trust in your plan, and I know that you are with me, even in the darkest of places.
The king closed the den with a giant rock. The sound of the stone scraping against the ground echoed through the cave, sealing the fate of the one inside. It was a final, ominous act, a symbol of the king's power and the gravity of the situation. He hoped Daniel would be okay. Despite his authority, the king was filled with worry. He had grown to respect Daniel, and the thought of him facing such a terrible fate weighed heavily on his heart. He could only hope that Daniel's faith would see him through.
I hope Daniel will be okay. The king's concern was shared by many. They whispered prayers and held on to hope, believing that somehow Daniel would survive the night. Their faith was a fragile thing, but it was all they had in the face of such overwhelming fear.
The king couldn't sleep that night. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, each one more troubling than the last. He tossed and turned, unable to find peace. The image of Daniel in the den haunted him, a constant reminder of the decision he had made. He was so worried about Daniel. The king paced the halls of his palace, his heart heavy with regret. He had never felt so powerless, so helpless. All he could do was wait and hope, praying that the dawn would bring good news. When the sun came up, the king raced to the lion's den.
Daniel, are you alive?
He called, his voice shaking.
God sent his angel to protect me. The lions did not hurt me.
The king was amazed. He hugged Daniel.
I'm so happy you are safe, Daniel.
The king learned a big lesson that day. He saw how powerful Daniel's God was.
Daniel's God is the one true God.
The king made a new rule that day.
Everyone must respect Daniel's God. He is the God who saves.
And so, Daniel was safe, and everyone learned about his great and mighty God.